Alrighty. Well, hello, this is Max at NDE, and I've got Jill and Jeannie with me. Amy's on the phone as well. So first, just to catch up on our district publishing data, we are almost all the way there. We have just 7 districts left not publishing. 4 of them had Sycamore, and we know we'll be switching over. So they're excused. We've got a couple of Infinite Campus districts remaining. I believe they are aware of who they are. Michelle been following up with them. So it's very good to see that we've got practically everyone has sent some data. So the next kind of piece of the process for us is spring work days. Amy will be helping out a lot of them. Also, some ESU people will be kind of the main hosts as well. There are a lot of those scheduled. If you go out to the, you can obviously just check with your ESU to find out when the day is coming near you. The calendar on our Google site here also has a bunch of them listed. I'm not sure if they have everything on here. Amy?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yes, pretty close. I needed to double check today, but I think we've got everything listed. If you can't make it to your ESU, definitely feel free to go to another surrounding ESU if a date or time works better for you. This will not be student information system specific. So we are inviting, for example, CIC. Usually there'll be kind of a power school person on hand to help if you need help in that regards, but there won't be a lot of you'll be in your student information system because you'll be looking at data, but there's not a lot of setup or anything that you're doing here. And what we're doing is there's about 5 of us who we're kind of all getting together for 2 days, and we're kind of doing a train the trainer, so that we can all go out and respectively kind of get this done in a couple of months without Amy having to travel for about 5 weeks straight. So. And some things to note about that is that's where you'll also learn about the new SRS feature and how that's going to work with Advisor as well. Wade will be either Zooming in and or be on site at most of those work days, and working with districts in that respect. So SPED directors, SPED staff, definitely encouraged to go.
Excellent. And yeah, we'll also be covering the validation side again, including some new features, error reporting, some new reports. We're always in the process of adding additional reports. We've got some attendance reports. We're going to add some grades and section reports coming up. And hopefully we will also be able to talk about the dashboard some as well. Also on the calendar, of course, the data conference. I think we probably talked about this last month, but just to remind everyone, if you go to this link here, or you just go to NDE's homepage, I think it's got a big link on the front page. Here's everything you need to know about the conference. Yeah, I believe last month we talked about this roadmap document you could download here as well. We encourage everyone to hand that out. April 16th and 17th, we're in the process of getting all the sessions set and finalized. We have invited the vendors to come out and on the Monday give a presentation, 1-hour presentation for districts that are in that with that vendor. Jeannie, do you know has confirmed, what vendors have confirmed so far?
No, I don't. I know for sure Sims has and
JMC has.
JMC, but I do not know about the other ones.
Well, hopefully they've all, I believe, come before. So hopefully we should be getting all the SIS vendors.
Not seeing your desktop on your
Craig, can everyone see what I'm sharing here? Okay. Well, all right, Craig, you might just, I'm not sure what's wrong. You may need to just reconnect or something. So, just a reminder, and of course, everyone who's on this call would be amongst the people we want to come to that conference, as well as your administrators, other data people that are going to be involved in helping get your data together, like SPED directors, or it's really up to each district. So we, of course, encourage as many people as possible. Just a reminder again about getting access to the dashboard. I know it's a complicated process. In the advisor validation website, there is a verification report under staff. It's the only staff report under advisor validation. And you just click on verification reports and then click on staff to get to it, which will tell you ahead of time everyone who has been set up in your district to access the dashboard, as well as it gives little error messages about potential problems that you might have. So I know we still have people are trickling in, the data stewards are trying to get connected to the dashboard, and 90% of the time the problem is just setting up that staff data that has to be sent up through your SIS. So this report is really the easiest way to see what's going on with your own record as well as everyone else in your district. And then, like I said, you have to send some staff data from your SIS, just the amount that controls who gets access to the dashboard. If you are getting staff errors on staff, like bus drivers or something that are in your SIS but don't need access to the dashboard, you should be able to set them up to be skipped. And obviously the instructions for that are different in every SIS, but I'm pretty sure they all have an option for that. And I also wanted to point out under the instructions tab here, Amy has put together this document for PowerSchool that shows you how to get staff data set up and get that sent up through PowerSchool. And there's multiple ways to send it up through PowerSchool. And that will be how people get into the dashboard there. Amy, did you have anything you wanted to comment on this?
Nope. If somebody looks at it and has some feedback or something doesn't make sense, don't hesitate to just shoot me an email and let me know.
And again, that's on the instructions tab under our Google project site in the PowerSchool folder at by staff instructions. So yeah, any questions so far? I think I've seen anything on here. I think that's enough. Another document that we want to talk about. Jill has been working to put this together recently. It's called the Advisor Data Elements document. It's kind of meant as a replacement for the NSSRS. We had the student manual,
Mhm.
I believe it was called. But that document, which describes a lot of the data elements that you upload in the student files, also had technical stuff about, like, you know, what column number you need to put the district of residence in, or whatever, things like that. So obviously that kind of document doesn't apply under Advisor, but we still wanted a document that can go over all these data elements and give you a little bit of the rules about how to use them. So in the future, that will be posted on our main NDE website, just like we have an SSRS resources site that everyone should have been using for a long time now. We will be adding things to an Advisor resources site. So right now there's not much on there. We will, because as you know, we've been posting everything on this Google site. Eventually we'll kind of transition away from that as we get more kind of final version of things. But we haven't planned all that out yet. So for now, again, under the instructions tab on our Google site, not in a folder, so at the top here, I have this Advisor Data Elements draft document here, pretty close to being finalized.
Yeah, our plan for that document is to definitely have it completely finalized for, the document that's out there right now is 1718. And like Max said, it's pretty close to being finalized. We're hoping to get it finalized here relatively quickly. And then we're also planning on having the 1819 version available by the time of the data conference. There aren't a lot of changes to 1819. We've only got a couple of different elements that we're looking at making changes in. So, and when we do those changes, they will be there will be a change summary available also for districts to take a look at.
Yep. So in this document, under the old document, all the data elements are split up by template name, and obviously we don't have templates exactly anymore. So we kind of came up with some groups that kind of make sense to group together some of the major areas. So like district, school, and calendar, which includes all your calendar stuff, sessions, grading periods. You know, that's all the beginning of the year setup stuff. Staff data, student and parent demographics, courses and sections, student enrollment, attendance data, programs, discipline, grades, transcripts, and postgraduate activities. So I'll just go down to one of these. Some of this is data like you would see in the NSSRS manual, but this manual also covers data elements that are part of Advisor, but that NDE doesn't use, but they may be important to other data elements, or they're important to the dashboard. So under each of these data elements, we have a little key up top here that just briefly says, is it used for the dashboard or state reporting or both? So in the case of calendar events, that's used for both. And we just, you know, have a description of the different codes and what those mean, any other little rules about the data element. A lot of you in your SIS will see the same codes here generally. Although some SISs could kind of take the codes that are in Advisor and kind of hide some or do something with it. So it's hard to say if you'll see this exactly in your system.
And anything that's marked as state reporting is essentially required data. I think about the only element we have in there that's not required, as long as it applies to your district, is local ID or alternative ID. As you know, we've always collected that in NSSRS, but it has not been required. and that still applies to this information. But otherwise, state reporting means required element.
So I you know, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. There'll be, when you see the 1819 document, there'll be an Appendix A with the change summary. But yeah, you can go ahead and take a look at it on the instructions tab here, like I said. Another thing I think was next on my list, we've talked about this before. So if you are using any school numbers, separate schools that you set up in your SIS that are not actual school buildings that NDE recognizes, we now have the form available for you to report that to us. So it's a Google form here, or like I was showing, it's on the instructions tab. Again, up here at the top, called non-reportable schools. So just a simple Google form. You put in your name, your district, and then you say, I have a school number, 123, which I use for, this non-public school students that receive Title I services, whatever name you want to give it. And just as a reminder, there's a link in this form that leads you to this other spreadsheet, where here I'm just giving you a list of all the school numbers that NDE already knows for your district for this year and also the past like 10 years-ish. Just so you know that, you probably don't want to use a number that's already on this list if you can. So obviously any schools you submit on that form we're not going to actually pick them up at the state for state use. It's you won't see them in that school and district information collection in the CDC. They're only put into advisors so that you could submit student data under that school. And this works in conjunction with another feature that we added in 1718, which is called the reporting school. So you can have students listed at this alternate type of school number, but you already know that under NSSRS, when you report those students, you have to report them at, say, your high school. So advisor's been set up so that you can give us both of those numbers. You can say, here, this student, this student is in my SIS under school number 999, but the state we have to report them to the state under school 001, our high school there. So that way you can send both of those numbers and advisor. The advisor validation side, all the state reporting should use the reporting school number, the 001, but I believe the dashboard would actually use the like the 999 number, the made up number there. So the schools you'll see in your dashboard should look, similar to how your schools are set up in your SIS. So after you complete the form, there's still a step that I have to do on our side, where I'll take the data from the form and get these schools set up in advisors. So at some point I'll let those collect for a little bit, but then I'll get them set up. And maybe I'll send out I could probably send an email back as I get those processed to whoever filled out the form, since I asked for your email address. So yeah, that form's open now. If you want to use it, some of you probably already know. I mean, there's plenty of districts where that may not apply. And if you don't know what that means, it may not be applicable to you. I know there's several districts already that are already getting errors because their system are trying to send data for a school that NDE didn't recognize. So if you're in that situation, this is the form to use. Any questions about that? Everyone's just very on board today. Okay. Moving on to the vendor updates. Nothing major for most of the vendors there, of course. SRS, like we have been saying, is in testing with 5 or 6 districts right now, and they should be ready by the time you come to those spring work days, like we said, which will include SRS training. So I'm not exactly sure the process for districts to get on board with connecting SRS to an advisor, but I'm sure that will be covered in WAIS training. One note for Power School, I believe there's a new Nebraska release scheduled for this Friday, which will fix an issue that a lot of districts are running into where all of your enrollment data wouldn't send up correctly. So that's going out this Friday, and you'll have to, get it onto your system, but hopefully that should work. Amy and the other Power School support people will be following up with that. So if you're in that situation, probably one of the Power School support people already knows about it, but if not, you can always just put in a ticket to advisorhelp@nebraskacloud.org. Let us know. We'll make sure that we follow up with you. Amy, do you have any other notes about Power School you want to cover?
No, just, yep, that release is supposed to come out Friday. So if you're on the serve, if you're hosted by Power School, you'll probably see something happen over the weekend or the next, like Monday and Tuesday is usually when you see them. So just keep in touch with your support people or Power School if you run into additional issues. Quite a few issues are being fixed. The enrollment, there was some processing, just issues in general that are being updated. For those of you who have the too many numbers in your phone number field, they are now just going to truncate that and take the first, just take the first 24 numbers right now. Those are all things that will probably eventually be fixed in the new contacts that'll get released in April, May. Just so that we could get the data to go through, because that did affect student demographics. That's kind of their workaround for now. So I think that's kind of everything in summary.
All right. Sandy from Norfolk had a question about you have the option to report SPED from either SRS or your SIS. Yes, that is correct. You don't really need to inform us about it. You should just be able to control where that data gets sent from through your SIS and presumably through SRS. There should be a way to, turn on or off either side from sending to an advisor.
Just make sure one of them is turned on.
Yeah, and technically you could do both at the same time, although that would probably be very confusing to keep track of. So it should be set up in the system, but if you have any problems with that, once SRS is up and running for your district.
And those are some things that we'll talk about at those work days as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I haven't seen exactly what that looks like at SRS yet, but I will learn about it soon. As far as I know, all the other vendors are moving along. Had pretty minimal issues with, JMC getting those districts onboarded. So that's been working well. And yeah, we've had EduPoint and GoEduStar and Sims all online for a while. Infinite Campus, we're worked through a few issues, but most of the districts are up and running there. Like a few left.
Max, on JMC, just so you guys are aware, on April 11th, we're having kind of a phase 3 meeting for all of the districts where we'll go through kind of the end of the year processes with them and what they need to do there to be compliant.
Okay. And I assume all the JMC districts should be aware of that already. So. I think that's pretty much all we have on the schedule here. We've got 3 more of these district meetings scheduled. The next one is March 21st. If anyone has any other questions related to Advisor, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll try to answer them here.
And if you do have any feedback on the Advisor Data Elements document, you can send an email to one of us or throw in a JITBIT ticket. We're not quite finalized it yet, so we would take your comments and questions into account when we do the final document.
All righty, well, I'm not seeing any questions, so thanks for joining, everyone, and please join us again next month.